Michael Burry dark warning, Great Reset is coming. The pandemic has radically changed the world as we know it, and the actions we take today, as we work to recover, will define our generation. It's why the World Economic Forum is calling for a new form of capitalism, one that puts people and planet first, as we come together to rebuild the world after COVID-19. Today we're going to talk all about Michael Burry's dark warning about the pandemic. So watch the video till the end, because today's video is going to be the bomb. Welcome to Michael Burry Secrets, your daily dose of Michael Burry. If you're interested in everything around Burry, this is the place for you. Subscribe if you want to stay updated with all the Michael Burry secrets, predictions, and stay one step ahead in the financial world. Watch the video till the end, and make sure to hit the like button if you want to be a millionaire within the next 3 years. Don't forget to enable all notifications to join our weekly cash giveaway pinned in the comments. Now let's get to our topic. Michael Burry warns that the surging U.S. inflation isn't merely a byproduct of the economy opening up again after pandemic restrictions, and nodded to the fact that he predicted the spike in a now-deleted tweet on Wednesday. Inflation, it's not just reopening anymore, folks, he tweeted. Not that anyone could have seen this coming, he added sarcastically. The investor of The Big Short fame shared a chart showing month-on-month inflation, and the split between reopening and non-reopening factors underlying the price increases. Higher inflation in May, June, and July was driven by steeper price rises for used and rental vehicles, auto insurance, lodging, airfares, and restaurant meals as the economy reopened, Burry's chart showed. Meanwhile, the 0.9% increase in the Consumer Price Index in October, its sharpest month-on-month gain since 2008, was largely fueled by higher energy prices and non-reopening factors. In other words, inflation spiked in the summer because people resumed driving, booking flights and hotels, and eating out after cutting back during the COVID-19 outbreak. But prices rose at the fastest annual rate in 3 decades in October because other parts of the economy heated up. Burry, who famously anticipated the collapse of the mid-2000s housing bubble, highlighted the risk of post-reopening inflation as early as April 2020, weeks after the first lockdowns in the U.S. The Scion asset management boss also told investors to prepare for inflation in February of this year. He cautioned that mailing out stimulus checks, pumping trillions of dollars into financial markets, and reopening large parts of the economy could light a fire under prices. Burry went as far as comparing America's current inflation trajectory to Weimar Germany's path to hyperinflation in the 1920s. He noted there was similar market mania and rampant speculation among investors in the European nation before prices took off there. The Scion chief, who frequently deletes his tweets and occasionally takes down his Twitter profile, returned to the platform this week to weigh in on Elon Musk's stock sales and suggest Tesla stock could plummet 90%. Michael Burry's biggest bet right now is on treasuries. He's shorting the 20-year on a bet that the rates will rise faster than what market has anticipated. I happen to be on the same camp as Burry and believe 2 major tailwinds will make this bet pay off big time. 2 catalysts that will cause an increase in the rates are supply chain constraint will be more consistent and rise in inflation will force Fed to start tapering. Delta variant will peak in the next few weeks, forcing fund managers to go risk on again. Supply chain constraint. If you remember from your economy classes, we have 2 types of shocks in the economy, supply shocks and demand shocks. While the quantitative easing, aka QE, works very well when the economy is facing demand shocks, it does not work as well during supply shocks and leads into higher prices and inflation. While the pandemic acted as a hybrid of demand and supply shocks, it mostly impacted supply chain. If you need proof, simply look at shipping container prices or just lumber prices from a few months ago. QE does not work very well when there's supply shocks in the economy, and usually leads into higher prices. While it's true that the pandemic also had a demand shock, but U.S. household saving is now at all-time high. Continued QE will only push inflation higher. Once Fed acknowledge this and start tapering, the mortgage-backed securities prepayment risk will skyrocket, and banks have to adjust accordingly. This will lead into selling TLT to raise liquidity for the banks, which then translates into higher 10 and 20-year rates. Delta variant. The fear of the Delta variant had many fund managers switching to risk-off mentality and selling equities and buying treasuries instead. This jump in the treasury purchases pushed the rates even lower in the past few weeks. However, the Delta variant seems to have peaked in the UK, which was ahead of US by a few weeks in their number of cases. If the Delta cases actually peak next week, we will see managers coming back to equity again. Subsequently, selling pressure on the treasuries will push the rates higher. An educated guess. Everything in the market is about taking educated guesses. If you have ever made any quantitative model, you would know that the model is as good as its assumption. We make educated guesses in the market all the time, and betting against TLT seems like a good guess to me. While Burry might have blocked me on Twitter, I do agree with his way of thinking. It appears to me that a bet against treasuries, TLT, is a bet that has high probability of materializing in profits. The doctor turned hedge fund manager launched a series of tweets over the past 2 weeks, echoing the concerns of many that the government lockdown and business shutdowns may trigger one of the deepest ever economic slumps in America's history. Furthermore, he also suggested the lockdown is not necessary to contain the epidemic. If COVID-19 testing were universal, the fatality rate would be less than 0.2%. This is no justification for sweeping government policies, lacking any and all nuance, that destroy the lives, jobs, and businesses of the other 99.8%. Burry tweeted on March 23rd. COVID-19 policy cannot be settled by CYA politicians' career ID docs. Too much hammer, nail, and too little common sense. POTUS must reflect the interests of the working class and small business here. The economy cannot crash 30% to save the 0.2%. Set America free, he added. Burry has also thrown his support behind possible treatments for COVID-19, such as the much-touted malaria drug hydroxychloroquine, saying they should be made more widely available as soon as possible. Prudent plan. Number 1. Standardize on chloroquine and azithromycin. Cheap and available. Number 2. Sick and elderly voluntarily shelter in place. Number 3. Americans lead their normal lives with extra hand washing and special care if around the elderly. Saving the economy means life, not murder, Burry tweeted on March 24th. And in an email to Bloomberg News, Burry said the universal stay-at-home directive is man-made, and described it as the most devastating economic force in modern history. It very suddenly reverses the gains of underprivileged groups, kills and creates drug addicts, beats and terrorizes women and children in violent, now jobless households, and more. It bleeds deep anguish and suicide, he added. Bloomberg's Reed Stephen asked Burry what he thought was the best way to get things back to normal. I would lift stay-at-home orders except for known risk groups, he responded. We already know certain conditions that are predictive of severe disease. Especially since young, healthy lungs tend to be resistant, I would let the virus circulate in the population that is not likely to get a severe disease from it. This is the only path that comes close to balancing the needs of all groups. Well, that's it for today's video, guys. Also, we would like to mention that this is not a channel intended specifically to provide financial advice, and we do not ask you to invest in any company. This is merely a channel directed towards bringing educational content to your doorsteps. With that in mind, before you invest in anything, we recommend you do thorough, wide-spectrum research on the topic. And make sure to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. See you next time on Michael Burry Secrets. Bye!